Today we start our series of lectures on cultural studies. Cultural studies, or short we say CS or CCS. CS or CCS. CS means cultural studies and CCS means critical communication studies. Both mean the same thing. This is a discipline included in almost all the programs, all the postgraduate programs in almost all the Indian universities. So I think that we must do something with regard to this, because students in certain places, for example, I myself was a teacher after my official assignments in a college, and I found that the students there were they found it very difficult, this cultural studies. Afterwards, it's very simple, but some people find it difficult. So I thought that I must do something in this field to help the postgraduate students. See, that's why I am starting for you. Okay, so this will help. I don't say that this is just listening to my lecture will do everything for you. No, not at all. But it is a kind of help for you. Okay? Yes. So cultural studies, CS or critical communication studies, as you know, is a new discipline, and it is culture. The term culture itself, as Raymond Williams, the culture guru, says, is a difficult one. Culture is a difficult word to define for three reasons. First reason is it is interdisciplinary. Interdisciplinary. It is interdisciplinary, means not just one, or post-disciplinary. Post-disciplinary. Interdisciplinary or post-disciplinary, because it includes almost all the areas of human experience: religion, politics, philosophy, art, literature, daily life, cooking, then what more, education and fine arts, sculpture, architecture, almost all areas of human experience you can see included in this discipline. So in this interdisciplinary or post-disciplinary. And another thing is, second reason is, so it is anti-positivist. Anti-positivist. What is anti-positivism means? Means nothing definite about it. Nothing positive about it. Means you cannot say this is cultural studies, you cannot say. And also culture is an abstract. There is no referent for that. Understand? Can include in signifying practices, daily life, as Raymond Williams insists on lived culture, and also significant practices. Understand? So, to begin with, you understand, it's a difficult term to define, but you can understand it. You cannot define air, but you find air everywhere. Same way, you cannot define culture, but you find culture everywhere. The moment humans start interacting with this environment, culture happens. It's so simple as that, isn't it? The very moment you start interacting with your environment, then culture happens. Yes. Now, one or two things about culture that we must know is, first I told you about difficulty. Now the second point is the etymology. Etymology of culture. What is the etymology of culture? Means origin. The origin, speaking about the origin of this word culture, it comes from the Latin word cultus. C-U-L-T-U-S. Cultus. Elsewhere I have told you that Latin is a phonetic language, so what you write, you write and pronounce it in the same way. So cultus is, in English sometimes you will say cultus, something like cultus. Now what is cultus? What is the meaning of cultus? Cultus means to cultivate, or to make better, or to worship. You know, you have heard of cult, isn't it? Cult, Babylonian cult, you know, isn't it? A cult of Baal, Baldev. See, God Bal. See, the cult. So that is worship. So from this meaning you can understand, it's cultivate. So make something better. Make something better. So culture means it has something to do with better living. Opposite of nature. Nature means you live according to what you must say. Nature means without any change, eating your food raw. That is natural way of eating, isn't it? And like animals, suppose you don't brush your teeth. Animals don't brush their teeth. So they don't use Colgate or any other, Pepsodent or any such thing. But they live. So that kind of life is life nature. You live according to nature, not culture. The moment you think about culture, what happens is there is some intervention is there. That is. So kultus, worship. Another origin we can say Sanskrit origin, where it says Sanskriti. So here the root is kri. Kri means to do. Kri means to do. Prakriti, Vigriti, and then Sanskriti. Sanskriti means science, means good. So make something good. So that is the meaning. So etymologically speaking, culture involves making something good. Yes. So now 2 points we have covered. One, what is CS and what is how the difficulty in defining the term. And second point that we have covered is its origin. And it, of course, it has got the meaning of something better, isn't it? Yes. Now the third point for today is about the definitions of culture. We have seen it's difficult to define, but there are many definitions of culture. You see, for example, we can say culture. Raymond Williams in his 1958 essay, "Culture is Ordinary," so that is an essay prescribed for you. He says that culture is in every society and in every mind. So that is culture. What is culture? It doesn't say. Culture is in every society and in every mind. Another way of looking at it is a definition like this: culture is intellectual, aesthetic, and spiritual development. Intellectual, aesthetic, and spiritual development. Another definition is it's an artistic development. Another definition is it is lived culture. You live. When you come in contact with the nature and you try to improve upon your life, then their culture happens there. So these are some of the definitions, and we must understand that it originates actually cultural studies as a discipline. The foundation was laid by F.R. Lewis. F.R. Lewis and his great tradition. That tradition means not the tradition of T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot's tradition is the existing literary, or the order of the existing literary world, that is the platform for a poet or an artist to start his life. That is not what he says about pastness of the past and the mind of Europe and all those things. Elsewhere in my lecture on tradition and individual talent, I have explained all these things. Now, that tradition is not F.R. Lewis' tradition. F.R. Lewis' tradition is the tradition of the great novelists like Jane Austen, Henry Fielding, Joseph Conrad, and read their novels. Then you learn from them and you make your life better. Now, the role played by F.R. Lewis in originating this new discipline is very important, because it all comes from, we can say, Lewisism. A word from F.R. Lewis. So Lewisism, what is Lewisism? Lewisism is F.R. Lewis approach to literary criticism. And what is F.R. Lewis approach to criticism? Literary criticism. Till F.R. Lewis pointed this aspect of literary criticism. That means in literary criticism, you must also include cultural aspects. That is Lewisism. So it was F.R. Lewis for the first time said that in literary criticism, we should not confine ourselves to just merely forms and then meter and style and diction and all those things, character analysis, then plot analysis. These are the areas where literary criticism focused, the literary critics focused their attention. But it is, in addition to this, we must also add cultural aspects of a work or an author in literary criticism. This approach to literary criticism to include cultural aspects is called Levicism. So cultural aspect. Therefore, from Levicism we can say that this new discipline, a brand new discipline, we can say, he was laying the foundation by Levi's approach to literary criticism, knowingly or unknowingly, he was laying the foundations of a new discipline, so to say. So we can, of course, we should say we have to be indebted to F.R. Lewis and his approach to literary criticism. Now the next point is what we are going. This is an introductory lecture. That's why we are first the etymology, then the definition, then the nature of culture, the nature of the term culture, and we saw how we are indebted to F.R. Lewis and his Levicism. And now we come to the next point on definitions, and now we come to the next point, that cultural studies, certain models of cultural studies. The first model you can see is high-low. High-low. Or what we can say, later on you will see park wall. Constructing a park wall, that is between high and low. So it was Mathew in one of his periodical essays published in 1869, Culture and Anarchy, he said, culture is that which is the best that is thought and said. Only the best. So that means there is a segregation. Something is best and some things are ordinary or not good. So there in the words of Raymond Williams, we say, these people, including T.S. Eliot, they made and also F.R. Lewis, they constructed a park wall between culture and non-culture. So what is said, what is the best that is thought and said, only that is culture, according to Mathew. And then we find the great tradition, learning the great works, studying the great works of great novels, of great novelists, and imbibing lessons from them. That is tradition, that is culture. That is what F.R. Lewis said. So Mathew Arnold, F.R. Lewis. And T.S. Eliot, in his notes on definition of culture, he says, culture is that which makes life worth living. Culture is that which makes life worth living. So that means there are many things which are not worth living. See that? So there is a separation between high and low culture. That was the approach first. Okay. Then the second approach is, that is Williams. That is, he said, that is lived culture. Lived culture. That is, Williams says that culture is ordinary. Yes. Lived culture, yes, that I think that is better. So first, to begin with, we have got high-low approach. Then we have got Williams says culture is ordinary. It's just ordinary. It includes everything. The most common meanings and the finest individual meanings. That's what it is. The known and the new. The traditional and the creative. Everything. The whole way of life. Not a particular thing, but the whole way of life. Don't think that poetry and fine arts, that is culture. Or bricklaying is not culture. Bricklaying is culture. Working in a factory is culture. Farming is culture. Living in a cottage is culture. Living in a palace is culture. Living in a skyscraper is culture. Everything is culture. So the whole way of life. So in other ways, what these authors, not only Williams, but Williams, Richard Hogarth, in his book, The Uses of Literacy, and also E.P. Thompson, E.P. Thompson in his Making of the English Working Classes. And they are working class writers, working class people. And so they approach the culture in that way. Means including whatever happens in this world is culture. Right from the days of Adam to the days of the latest, what he must say, the most modern scientists of this era. That is culture. The whole way of life. Understand? That is another approach. So what they have done is Thompson, Hogarth and Williams, Raymond Williams, they democratized culture. Democratized, that is the word. Democratized culture. Democratization of culture. Democratization of culture means what? Means everything, not this. When you compare it, see the title of his essay itself is Culture is Ordinary. That means somebody must have said, no, culture is extraordinary. That's why he started the essay like this, culture is ordinary. Okay. Now the third approach to culture is, and Williams, Thompson's and Hogarth's approach to cultural studies, you call culturalism. Culturalism. There is an essay prescribed for you people, The Two Paradigms by Stuart Hall. Culturalism and structuralism. We will take that later in great detail. But for the time being, understand this being an introductory lecture, you understand. Culturalism means this, lived culture or the whole way of life, or we can say the known and the new, traditional and the creative, all these aspects together we can call culture. Nothing is left out, that's the thing. Now the third approach to cultural studies is the Marxist approach. Marxist approach. Marxist approach, you know, base and superstructure. That is a metaphor. Base and superstructure. Superstructure. Base and superstructure. What is base? Base means Marxist, their interpretation of culture is culture has the culture depends on, you can say, or culture is determined by production. That's the relationship between culture and culture is a way of life. Culture and production. Production here means including not just producing a thing, but you have got capital, labor, production, marketing, supply, profits, all those things together. All the economic activities, you can say. So we call it economic determinism. The Marxist approach we call economic determinism. Means, just as we say, no? Freud's approach is sex determinism. According to Freud, or whatever happens in this world, human activity is determined by sexuality, he says. So here is economic determinism. Everything depends upon economic conditions. So that is culture and production. That's what they say. So this culture and production says, if it depends on the way society's economic conditions directly affects the way of life. Culture means the way of life of a people. But in this case, what happened? And they say that base is culture. Sorry, base is economics or production, and superstructure is culture. Understand that? That's why this what we call a metaphor. Base means economic relationship of the society. The means of production. Who controls the means of production? Who creates things? Who produces things? Who supplies it? Who markets it? Who gets the profit? So these are the things that you have to consider when you think of the production part of it. Then, according to this, the culture can develop in a better way, or it can even be worse, depending on the relationship of the production culture relationship. Now here, base is economy and superstructure is culture. So base determines superstructure. That is what the Marxists say. Of course, Williams has answered this in his famous 1958 essay, just now quoted, Culture is Ordinary. He says that for three reasons he objects this metaphor of the Marxists. Mainly he says that culture is common meanings and individual finest individual movement. You may be able to do something with the common meanings, but what about individual finest individual meanings? No, nobody can control anything. So that is, according to him, it is jumping the future. See, jumping the future. So he rejects that. More of this we will see when we take up that essay. Culture is ordinary. I suppose you will wait for that, isn't it? Yes. So that is base and structure. Simply it means economic conditions determine the culture of a society. That is mean. And then the fourth model of cultural studies is structuralism. Structuralism. Now structuralism says, like Claude Lewis and Louis Althusser. So these people, they say, culture is, according to them, culture is deep structure. Deep structure. Only a person who has got at the deep structure level, this instinct for culture can express culture. That's what they say. Deep structure and surface structure relationship. See, he says, for example, you can say, explain like this. So you make somebody makes the Taj. Okay. Now the Taj, actually it is conceived in the mind of a person. In the deep structure of a person's mind, the idea of Taj is there. So when convenient situation, favorable situation arises, it is created in this idea is created in the form of Taj Mahal. And you interact with this Taj Mahal, you develop your culture. And now your development of the culture is the effect of this Taj Mahal. Understand that? Not that just because you interact. There's culturalist people say like that. They say by interacting you develop. But structuralism doesn't say that. Structuralism says there is one more step. And what is that one step? First, you must have a poet writing poetry. Let's say a poem. He must have it in his deep structure. When favorable conditions come up, he expresses it in the form of a poem. And you read it. Your culture develops. So the development of your culture is the effect of this cultural artifact or cultural form. Understand that? Culture doesn't happen like that, he says. There is a cause, and that cause is your deep structure. So when you take up culture, the paradigms, two paradigms based total, then we will go deep into this. Time being, I hope you understood this. For example, I tell you about Robert Frost. He wrote the famous poem, Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. How many people might have seen this dark evening, snow filling, somebody is passing through a village, then there is the horse cart and all those things. But why only Frost could write a poem like this? Because he had the deep structure in him. When the situation comes, he expresses that in the form of this poem. You read it, your culture develops, your feelings become refined. You start enjoying beauty. All these things happens. Why? This is the effect of this poem. You got the point. But in this, these people say, this is the culture, these things are the source. Understand that? This is source. So then they will say it is the source, culture. But the culturalists will say it is the source. But the structuralists will say this is the effect of this poem. Culture happens because of the existence of this poem. I just give you just an example. Understand? So you have to see these four models for the time being. So what I told you, what I was trying to impress upon you this morning is, first I told you about culture, CS, cultural studies, or CCCS, critical communication studies. Then I told you about the nature of this culture. The term culture is very difficult to define, according to even great proponents of culture and cultural studies like Raymond Williams, because first of all it is interdisciplinary, it is post-disciplinary, it is anti-positivist, and it always changes, it always changes. Then third point we discussed is the origin, etymology of this word, cultus Latin and the Sanskriti, Greek, both means to make something better. And then we found the definitions of culture. Most of these definitions are high level, like civilization. Kleiber's book, Civilization, speaks about higher things, not lower things, isn't it? Lower things are left out. They are not culture. They are vulture. Again, these people say they are vulture, not culture. Yes. And then we saw different models of studying culture. One is high and low. So where you have got Mathew, I.A. Richards, and T.S. Eliot. According to them, what makes life worth living is culture. Best that is thought and said, according to Mathew. The second we saw this democratization of culture, the culturalist approach of these great authors. That means the whole way of life. It's a whole way of life, and it has aspects like traditional as well as creative. And the third model we saw, base and superstructure of the Marxists. They say that culture depends on, culture and cultural developments depends on economic conditions of a society. As partially it is true, but not the whole story. It is not the whole story. And fourth one we saw that the structuralists say that none of these things, economics or none of these things, these are not the base of culture. Culture is a deep structure in the minds of people who have this deep structure. They express that in the form of superstructure or a surface structure. And when you see this, you come into contact with your culture develops, and this development of your culture is the effect of these surface structures, which were once in the minds of in the deep structure of the minds of such great people. Such an example I told you about creation of Taj, or writing a poem, or writing a drama. Elizabethan period, how many people lived and enjoyed the glory of Elizabethan England? Why only Shakespeare could write like this? That's because his deep structure, at the deep structure level, he had this. Or we can say another time what we sometimes say is that genetics loads the gun and environment pulls the trigger. If genetics or by your nature itself, your basic nature, it is not in your talent. That is, T.S. Eliot speaks about tradition and the individual talent. If you don't have the talent, you cannot produce anything. And if you produce something, it becomes a kind of what we must say, a thing with which you interact, humans interact, and then culture happens. So culture is effect. Understand? Culture is not experienced culture. Culture is an effect. Yes. Culture is not just by interacting. You cannot get culture, but you don't make any development. But it is the effect of these cultural artifacts. So you understand? This is the introductory lecture. Next class we will be we'll be analyzing that essay, 1958 essay by Raymond Williams, 1958 essay. That we will be analyzing point by point. Until then, goodbye. Have a nice time. Enjoy your life, and please also let me know your views on what I said about culture. Okay.